Hello there and welcome to this week's edition of Craig's Critique. The newly released cinematic film that I saw this week was the new comedy film Top 5. What is Top 5? Top 5 is a film directed by, written by and starring the actor and comedian Chris Rock. So why has Chris Rock put so much pressure and took so much responsibility upon himself to make this film? I think the simple answer, and it's probably the obvious answer, is the fact that Chris Rock's brand of stand-up and comedic brilliance has never been represented well enough on the big screen. Chris Rock will probably admit himself, I'm speaking of Chris Rock now, apparently, that his filmography is in terms of films isn't the greatest. Other than a couple of late 90s supporting roles that I enjoyed in Lethal Weapon 4 and Dogma, he's had dodgy and questionable relationships with Adam Sandler films, and he's part of obviously the Madagascar films, which he lends a decent ability to, but there's not enough there of Chris Rock himself. So that is purely the reason I think he's took up this responsibility to represent himself better on the big screen, and without a doubt it is the nearest you get to his stand-up, and his brilliant stand-up. So, what does the film revolve around? His character is called Andre Allen, who is funny enough, a comedian who has progressed on to be a comedy actor. So lots of nice parallels going on there in the real world. For many comedians, in fact, not just Chris Rock, many comedians who are trying to bridge that gap. And it revolves around about his character wanting to move away from comedic films into doing more serious film roles. Want to be taken more seriously as a serious actor. And it's all about him trying to convince the media and audiences alike that this is something they should be watching, even though they appear to not really have much interest in it. During the course of the film, he is asked to do an interview with a journalist, which he, under duress, agrees to do in the end. He obviously has fears that he's going to be misrepresented, mainly because the paper in question that this journalist works for is a known critic of his film works. So he goes about giving out an interview. Things develop between him and the interviewer even. He's the interviewee, isn't he? Really. Get the grammar right, Craig. Yes. And it's almost I've always said this, a kind of a little parallel to do with stand-up comedians trying to get themselves on a larger canvas, but without losing that thing that made them such a brilliant stand-up comedian. And the film, I would say, just about does the job. It is by no means perfect, and I think that one of the reasons why it's no means perfect is because obviously Chris Rock has took such responsibility in writing a script, purely just him writing a script. There's a bit of narrative befuddlement, if you will, in terms of what goes on with the two lead characters. And yeah, so it without doubt brings some of the best things about Rock's stand-up routines to the fore, but I feel with a more experienced comedy script writer and sharp film script writer, the film could have been absolutely amazing. And I mean, as we've discussed already, when this film is good, my word, is it funny as hell. It is absolutely funny as hell. Not every joke hits, not every moment hits, as was experienced by myself in the cinema, because I, as being a massive fan of Chris Rock's stand-up work, some of the stuff wasn't hitting. Maybe in the right other context of a stand-up routine, it would have worked better. But in balance of putting it into a script, into a film, acting it out, all of it didn't quite work. But there's enough there to enjoy. He's got some of the best supporting comics in the industry right at this very moment as well. Other than obviously Rosario Dawson, who's the interviewer. She's always great. It's always great fun to... She's a really good actress. JB Smoove. I absolutely love JB Smoove. such a sharp talker and brilliant wit. Great in it. Tracy Morgan pops up as well. 30 Rock stardom, of course, there. Really like 30 Rock. And although I've not seen much of Kevin Hart's material or films so far, although he's at the moment one of the biggest comedic stars in the world, never mind just in America, he has a very funny scene in this film. And there's many cameos in this film, which I will not say because I really get sick of films pointing out the cameos to me in trailers or in press releases or things like that, and then the effectiveness of those cameos are lost. So there are some great cameos by massive comedy film actors and absolutely massive comedy TV actors. Some of my favourite, one of my favourite comedy TV actors also. So yeah, and also I will say there's an encounter that Chris Rock has in a jail. That is outstandingly good. Outstandingly good. Sorry. I can't tell you who it is or what it involves, but it is absolutely fantastically funny. Yes, it involves a music star. I'll say no more than that. So yeah, like I say, when it's good with these, and I think when it's best, it's with these other comedy actors and cameos, because they're riffing off each other so much. So that's what probably Chris Rock needed more in those scenes, possibly with Rosario Dawson's, but because she's more of a straight actor, maybe that was lacking a little bit there in terms of dialogue interest, possibly. Don't know. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe it's right. I'm not sure. But yeah, when it's its funniest, it is absolutely hilarious. So probably in summing it up, it's not a laugh a minute film, but some material works, some doesn't. But without a doubt, it is definitely the closest thing that Chris Rock has done that resembles his brilliant stand-up routines, and that's only to the film's benefit, and therefore his benefit. Yes, narratively it's a bit befuddled, but that's compensated with its wonderfully funny cameos. Yeah, so without a doubt, it's worth a look, mainly because it's a film trying to be something different comedically out there. So yeah, I really did enjoy Top 5. It's not perfect, but there's plenty of funny stuff in there to enjoy. Yeah, love Chris Rock. Really liked Top 5. So that's my cinematic release film. What is the classic film of the week? The classic film of the week is what I would call... What would I call this film? I should have rehearsed this. The film in question is Swingers. Now, it's kind of built up a cult reputation over the last, 14 years, is it 96, I think it was released. And it's one of those films I discovered by myself. It's one of those films I didn't know anything about. At the time I didn't know anything about any of the stars. And it's one of those films I like to harp on about as being films that affected me in some way. This is a very personal, clearly, take on this film. The film is written by Jon Favreau and stars Jon Favreau as who's the main character in this film. Who is a character who is an aspiring actor who's moved out to LA and hangs out with his friend Ron Livingston, Vince Vaughn, Patrick Van Horn, and brief appearances with Alex Dessert. And it's all about effectively young actors on the dating scene in Los Angeles. That doesn't sound very exciting at all, does it? But there's something about the film that is just at ease with itself. It's fabulously written by Jon Favreau. Previously speaking about film written by and starring a character, this is almost perfect in my opinion as a film script because the script feels fresh, the film feels real. And I've read many I've read up many examples of how his encounters with, and this is apparently, um, Jon Favreau at the time he was friends with Vince Vaughn and Ron Livingston, and this is partly based on his experiences as an aspiring actor in Los Angeles in the early 90s. So he's taken many examples apparently from those experiences with these actors, and then with his friends, and then co-stars, and incorporated them into the film. So that's why it probably feels so real and so fresh and so vibrant and so alive. Vince Vaughn. This is the film that made Vince Vaughn a star. It is well known that upon seeing this film, Steven Spielberg cast him in The Lost World. And although obviously his performance his role in the film wasn't as significant as it was in this film, I've enjoyed many Vince Vaughn films since. But in this film, his Motormouth character is just absolutely outstanding to witness and listen to more than anything. Some of the pieces of dialogue that he has with Jon Favreau are just the stuff of script writers. An actor, to be honest, part of an actor's dream, because it gets you noticed. Makes you perform. Yes, the problem is what I'd love to at this moment in time do is quote and then maybe segue into a video of some of the encounters and some of the dialogue that Vince Vaughn encounters with Jon Favreau, because it is just I cannot say it myself, but the your money man whole bit is just absolutely brilliant, because I can see aspects of that in my life from Jon Favreau's character, and other people sort of saying that sort of thing to me, in a way. Very personal area, yes, I know. I'm sure many other people have sort of seen that sort of thing in themselves and in their lives, which I think is why it's built up such a cult audience. Doug Liman did a fabulous job, because he allowed Jon Favreau to just do his stuff effectively. So yeah, there's just an absolute effortless about the film. I've probably made this film sound really boring, because not a lot happens in the film. Jon Favreau goes out with his mates, goes drinking, plays video games with them. They have discussions about love and and relationships and being aspiring actors and things like that. So I've probably seen it about the most boring film in the world, but it's absolutely fabulous. Please watch this film, because it's just one of those films that connects with me so much, and I want it to connect with other people so much. But yeah, Swingers is usually, when you say, "Oh, I love a film," and it's called Swingers, people go, "Oh yeah, you like a film called Swingers, do you?" People need to get bloody over that little joke that they can't get over. Get over it, that the fact that it's called Swingers and it has another meaning. Please, just bloody get over it. Yeah, that's a personal thing with me, because I've mentioned it to many friends before and they've not. They go, "Oh yeah." So, yeah, Swingers, in my opinion, it's a cult film, and definitely for me, it's an absolute classic film. And those final few scenes with Jon Favreau encountering Heather Graham's character, and that brief moment where you see, I won't say what you see. If you've seen the film, you know what I mean. You see that, and then you see her. It's just wonderful, and I just got a shiver up my spine just thinking about that just very moment. So yeah, it is an absolutely wonderful film, absolutely wonderful. I probably just said a different. I've probably just said many different words, thesaurus wise, just wonderful and great and amazing. But watch this film. It's just some of the moments that are wonderful. Yeah, I'm gonna stop now, because I'm just saying the exact same word over and over again. So I apologise. Yeah, so that was my classic film of the week, Swingers, and the theatric release film of the week was Chris Rock's top 5. Some really good stuff. Some really, really sharp stuff written in both of these films. Watch both of these films, please. So, yeah, thank you again for watching. And if you've enjoyed anything I have to say, or even if you haven't, subscribe. I'm not bothered. Yeah. Please subscribe to me, and I hope to express my views to you again. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.